Adding and subtracting polynomials. So here we have two questions in front of us. The first one is an addition problem because the word sum means add. The second one is a subtraction problem, which is a little bit more challenging than addition. Let's do the addition problem first. What is the sum of the two polynomials, and what is true about that sum? Sum means add. If two terms have the exact same variables and exponents, like s squared t, then you can add the numbers in front of that. So 6 plus 4 is 10, and then the terms, variables, and exponents stay the same. So that's 10s squared t. Pay attention to the sign in front. Then we have st squared, which is different because the exponents are different from the other term. And we have -2 of those and -3 of those. -2 plus -3 is -5 st squared. So this has two terms, 1, 2. Two terms is called a binomial. And when you look at the two terms, you can find the degree by adding the exponents of the variables. So this has a degree of 2 plus 1, which is 3. This also has a degree of 3. So it's a binomial with a degree of 3. So that is adding like terms. Now, what we're going to do with our subtraction problem is we're going to first turn it into an addition problem. We keep the first parentheses the same, but we subtract each term in the following parentheses, which changes the sign of everything. So this becomes negative 6x to the fourth y. Negative makes a positive 5x squared y cubed, and then negative makes a positive y to the fifth. And then we can just bring down the first parentheses, -2x cubed y squared plus 4x squared y cubed minus 3xy to the fourth. So let's look to see what our like terms are. So again, you want to pay attention to the variables and their exponents. Do any other terms have a 3 on the x and a 2 on the y? This one does not, this one does not, this one does not, this one does not, and that one does not. So there are no terms like -2x cubed y squared. So let's look for terms that are the same as 4, positive 4x squared y cubed. So that's a 2 on the x and a 3 on the y. No, no, yes, positive 5x squared y cubed, because they have the same exponents and variables. Now look to see if you have any terms like -3xy fourth. Keep in mind the negative stays with that 3. That sign in front of it stays with that. That's a -3xy to the fourth. Are there any other terms that have x and then y to the fourth? No. Now let's look and see if we have any terms that have a -6x to the fourth y. There aren't any other ones that have x to the fourth with y. Then we have this last term here, which is positive y to the fifth, and there aren't any terms that are positive y to the fifth. So now we want to combine our like terms. The only like terms there are the two that we highlighted in yellow, and then everything else stays the same. So that's a +4 and a +5. So that's a +9 When we add positive 4 and positive 5, we get positive 9x squared y cubed. That has a degree of 5. And then we're going to start with our highest degree on our x term, which is this x to the 4th. So we're going to bring that term down first, negative 6x to the 4th y. So we've got that one. The next highest degree would be this negative 2x cubed y squared. So you can see we're working our way down, x to the 4th, x cubed, x squared. So we got that one. The 9 came from adding those two. Then we have negative 3x y to the 4th. And then last we have positive y to the 5th. So after we subtracted, where we had to change the sign of each term inside the following parentheses, then we just combine our like terms. Profit is the difference. Difference means subtract. So profits is the difference between the revenue and the cost. So to find the profit, we subtract revenue minus cost. Because we're using polynomials, make sure you put parentheses around the polynomials so that you can see that you're going to apply what we did in that other problem where the subtraction sign is going to affect the sign of the terms in the cost. So the revenue is this polynomial. So we're starting off with 2x squared plus 55x plus 10. And we are subtracting the cost, which is this polynomial, 2x squared minus 15x minus 40. So in order to do this, we are going to subtract 2x squared, which makes that negative 2x squared. Subtract a negative makes that positive 15x. Subtract a negative makes that positive 40. So we have distributed the subtraction sign. Now we can bring down the 2x squared plus 55x plus 10 and combine our like terms. Are there any other x squared terms? Yes. Negative 2x squared terms. Those are going to cancel each other out. 2 minus 2 is 0. Are there any other x terms? Yes, positive 15x and positive 55x are going to combine to give me positive 70x. And then lastly, we have our constants. Positive 10 and positive 40 is positive 50. So that would be the expression that represents the profit, and we got that from subtracting revenue minus cost, paying close attention to how a subtraction sign affects the terms in the parentheses after it. Then they ask, what is the profit if 240 cell phones are sold? Well, X represents the number of cell phones, so we just plug in 240 for X. Multiply by 70, because multiplication comes first before addition, and then add 50. So 240 times 70 is 16,800, and then add the 50, so 16,850 cell phones are, that's the profit if they sell 240 cell phones. Another common question in this lesson deals with perimeter, because perimeter means add up all 4 sides of a rectangle. So you have to be careful with perimeter because a lot of times people forget that they have to do all 4 sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label the other 2 sides. Opposite sides are equal. So I'm going to label the other 2 sides so that I know what expression represents the total perimeter of her sandwich. So I need to add all 4 sides. So when we look, we're adding, not subtracting. So we just combine like terms. 2x squared and all 4 groups of 2x squared would be 2, 4, 6, 8. 8x squared. And then 8, 8, 9, and 9 are the constants. So that is 8 and 8, 34. So that would be the expression if x equals 2, x equals 1.2, then what is the approximate length? So I'm going to substitute 1.2 for x, and you have to be really careful here. Exponents in order of operations come first. So the x is being squared. So I'm going to use a calculator and figure out what 1.2 times 1.2 is, and that is 1.44. So the first thing I had to do was square x. I got 1.44. Now I can do the multiplication times 8, and that gives me 11.52. Now I can add 34 to get 45.52. And another problem, they didn't give you a picture this time, but they're still talking about perimeter. So we have a length of 5x minus 2 and a width of 3x plus 1. So this expression represents the perimeter. Notice they used the formula 2 times the length plus 2 times the width equals the perimeter. They've already given you that two groups, because there are two lengths in a rectangle, two groups of 5x minus 2 and two groups of 3x plus 1 is the expression. Now, I would simplify that before I substitute 4 for x, because to me it would be easier to substitute in the simplest form. So to simplify, I'm going to distribute and get 10x minus 4. Distribute here. 2 times 3x is 6x plus 2. Combine my like terms. 10x plus 6x is 16x. Pay attention. The sign in front of it tells you that's a minus 4. So negative 4 and positive 2 is negative 2. Now I know if x equals 4, I can substitute 4 for x and then solve from there, simplify from there. 16 times 4 is 64, and 64 minus 2 is 62.